Atlanta is certainly going to be rocking, but is it necessarily going to be for the home team? Because Georgia State coming in after a just really a high class splattering that they received from the SEC. Well, now they have the Memphis Tigers coming into town in Central Park Stadium, really in Memphis having those aspirations of being one of the top teams in the American and possibly a CFP representative as well in what should be a somewhat fascinating non-conference clash happening at 7 p.m. on ESPN Plus, one of the games that we will see on College Football Redzone during our Saturday live streams, capturing the story of college football. And talking about those Memphis Tigers going in, they look dominant in week number 1. Granted, it is against an FCS program in Chattanooga, but it's still a dominating win, 45-10, being that final score, highlighting really the offensive firepower and depth that is still there at Memphis under Ryan Silverfield, even with a brand new quarterback leading the offense for the very first time in the last 5 seasons. Now that Seth Hannigan had his eligibility run out, and he went on to try and make those NFL opportunities happen for him. But really the biggest story in this game is, how does Georgia State respond after getting shellacked by Ole Miss? I mean, if you want to talk about a Sarah McLaughlin special, it was a Sarah McLaughlin special. I mean, granted, I don't think anybody really expected to come out here and expected Georgia State to beat Ole Miss on the road. That would be a completely unfair expectation. But you ask some of the Georgia State fans, they would expect that game to at least be a little bit more on the competitive side. And it was simply not that. One of the heaviest non-conference losses that we've seen in recent memory. But also, this is a Panthers team that already had some fears going into year number 2, as they were already slated to pick last in the Sun Belt East during the course of the preseason, according to their coaches poll. And that's despite the fact that they might have one of the best receivers in that conference in Ted Hurst. But unfortunately, outside of Ted Hurst, what seemed to be confirmed as well is that there's not too terribly much to be excited about necessarily. So the good news is in all of this, and I didn't even know that this was even possible, but this is the state of modern college football that we're in right now. So the offense might get a mid-season upgrade because TJ Finley, he's on his now 6th or 7th stop. He's assigned to play for the Georgia State Panthers over the course of the 2025 season, which, again, I really didn't even know was possible. But, I mean, that's really the state of major college football right now. Now, does that change a lot of things? I really don't know. I don't know if we're going to see TJ Finley play here in week number 2 or not. But let's go ahead and check out the model to see what our internal metrics are thinking alongside FanDuel. Right now, FanDuel has Memphis as a shade under a 2-touchdown favorite, while the model is a little bit higher than that, an 18-point favorite for the Memphis Tigers. Listen, I'm very concerned about Georgia State going into this matchup. What that Ole Miss game really showed, outside of Ted Hurst, is that it really exposed major defensive issues in terms of communication, in terms of being fundamentally sound, plus general depth for both sides of the ball. And not only are some of those things I don't think can be fixed over the course of 1 week, I think there's some things that were exposed in that Georgia State football team that could be shown as fatal flaws that could end up being unresolved and ultimately frustrate Georgia State fans throughout the rest of the season. So I do expect this Memphis team to really get those offensive fireworks going once again, just as they did in the 45-10 victory over the Chattanooga Mocs. But yeah, this could end up being an incredibly long night for the Georgia State Panthers. So not only am I siding with Memphis to win outright, but I am thinking that they do also cover in this matchup as well, with Memphis dominating by a final score of 35-17.